Hello everyone, this is a general reading. Let's get to it. Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow. All right. This one's really good. Yeah. So let's get into it. All right. So right now, something really good just happened. I don't know what you did, but like it's working out for you. I mean, all the readings I've gotten have been about like, oh, there was this fight and I didn't know if it was the right decision. Well, it was the right decision. You're walking on sunshine today, and your challenge is that it might be just a little bit too much. You might be kind of overwhelmed with what's happening. That's kind of crazy. Okay. And I mean, let's see. Being real about this, I want to say it's earned, whether you realize this before or not. Okay, there's a big truck going, yeah. Something about it. Yeah, you put it in a high gear and you put in the work. And looking at the other readings before, you might have not really had all that much understanding and how cool you were. Like your confidence was not equal to your ability for a long time because you were clearly like putting it in up until now, and well, I don't know about you, but for what you got to work on right now, I guess is a little bit of temperament. Now, I'm personally a Taurus. This is more just about baselining, communicating in an outward kind of way. That the Hierophant is like it's masculine, so it's outward. If it was the High Priestess, it's inward, which is like self boundaries, temperament, whatever. This is more about like personal relationships, kind of keeping in balance. So like, yeah, you had a huge win. You went through a bunch of fighting. Um, that's just kind of the thing to keep in mind. Just keep, Chariot plus Hierophant. It's just more like, okay, slow down. Yeah, like you're doing great. You're walking on sunshine. Just don't get ahead of yourself, Just take a moment and enjoy it for what it is, and more so, try to do so within a certain amount of balance. Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. It's like you have Seven of Cups for strength, which is like, well, I interpret this as you understand what's worth it and what's not. I kind of see that with all the readings that have come through so far. It's like you went through this big wake up call, you purged a bunch of stuff from your life that clearly wasn't helping you. And now it's like, okay, well, yeah, I know that's not worth it. I'm not going to go back there. And that's a lot of strength. It's this ability to discern correctly for what is glitter and what is gold. And I think you know what is gold and what's just been glittery in your life. And yeah, I mean, very much in line with this because like truth's coming out. Seven of Swords in reverse. You're stepping out of all this gaslighting and manipulation, and you're kind of just like, I don't know, you're coming out and you're being your best you, and that's pretty clear because like, I don't know, Nine of Pentacles in reverse for the advice I would say is just kind of like it's about letting go, more so. It's like all of this stuff internally you had, it's just fluff, and you know that now. You know all this stuff, like it's kind of like a Five of Cups kind of thing. It's like, well, you might have wanted this, but Probably not. But I look at it as like a total cleansing more so. Like if this was upright, you could be like, oh, well, everything you've built so great, and you really gotta win it. I don't really think so. I think you're like, threw it out. But with that in mind, Princess of Swords in reverse, you might be a little too critical. Now I look at this as like, yet again, it's feminine, so it's internal, but internally you might be really, really harsh right now at either the other people involved in the situation or even yourself, where, that's kind of, I want to say it's yourself because from the previous reading, there was a lot of doubts and anxieties. So you're probably just wondering still, and it's like this consistent, like hard to let go, like, did I go too far? I'm just not sure. And like, 100%, this gets back into the other thing. We had like, I remember it was like 5 of Pentacles and stuff like that in the same position. 9 of Cups. You're definitely worried you screwed up. And you're like, oh, is my life going to implode now? Still you're holding on to that. You've been for a sec. It's pretty clear. Like I don't know. And I've said this every time. People watching this had to be very, very brave with something. And they've been taking their time to really just kind of settle for the first moment of their life and be like, wait, I'm not being attacked. Like I feel like it's something like that. You're just so used to being attacked. And like, I think you're going to wake up to that because like, bam, you got the Ace of Pentacles. Like that's about as good as it gets for emotional fulfillment, peace, maybe 10 of Cups or whatever, 9 of Cups upright. But like, this to me is like, it's all the right beginnings. It's a flow of energy you probably haven't had in such a long time. With all of this going on, I wouldn't be surprised if you've been dealing with creative blocks and just kind of a dullness you knew shouldn't be there. Kind of like you've tasted ice cream enough times to know that it just doesn't taste right anymore. Like something. And all of this is probably why, I'm going to be honest. You're kind of just waking up. And I think another part of it is that, like, internally, I think you're moving very fast. I look at this and I see someone who's dealt with a lot of fight or flight. They've just kind of been anxious forever, and they've had to be to survive. That's, like we can be shameful about why we're in certain situations, or we can have compassion, and like I would be very compassionate if you've been like, that's not a state somebody should be in. You've been in fear for a long time, most likely. And that's kind of the challenge, I guess, is just stepping out of it and being like, wait, life isn't supposed to just be running all the time. You don't even have to walk. You don't have to move. You're just like, you can just exist. That might be kind of hard for you, I think, if anything. It might be just kind of hard to face, like, hey, the noise is gone and like, I really can just kind of do whatever I want. I'm not going to get like punished for it later or something, like something bad. Like, this is anxiety. This is not anything in the fate telling you what's going to happen. This is very clearly someone who's just kind of, they're working through some energies. And you're going to self-manifest. Well, I don't know. I don't really think, I think people kind of, cards on the table, no pun intended. People in the manifesting community get very, very discompassionate and, if anything, cruel and polarized. There's a lot of spiritual ego, which means you treat everybody better than yourself, but then you promote this really self-abusive stance. And I always say, like, a dictator and a monk both fail the golden rule just as miserably because they don't treat others the way they treat themselves, And there's a lot of that, people coming from this assumption of like, you're not drinking coconut water and vitamins and blessing the grass. And it's like, God doesn't want you to be like that. That's super exceptionally cruel. You're not supposed to be the Buddha. You're supposed to pick up some trash every once in a while so somebody else doesn't have to look at it. You're supposed to, tell somebody their shirt looks nice for no other reason other than the shirt looks nice. Not trying to hit on them or whatever. Just like, be supportive. Have these places where you can kind of vibe and then realize that everyone else could do that too, And it's like, right now, especially, we're in a time of such gripped perfectionism, Step out of that. There's no reason. There's no reason other than to just love yourself. I mean, obviously, you know what a narcissist looks like. I think, if anything, most people are hyper vigilant of that now, to the point where they victimize themselves. And that's the only way to go back to narcissism now, is victimized narcissism, where you're like, well, I'm such a this, so it's happening at me. And it's like, no, it's not happening at you anymore. None of this is. A lot might have for a long time. But you know what? You don't have to have so much weight on either end of the scale. You know, you could have 1,000 pounds on either side, or you could just have like nothing, and the scale's going to be equally balanced. And I feel like there's been a lot of that, a lot of this like rebalancing from what I've seen. That's my little rant. Just to get back to it though, let's do just a really quick general to clarify. I'm going to do a 3 card right now, because I feel like that's always just a good idea. With the really complex readings, I might do like and I have plenty of times, for myself, I do like an entire mirroring Celtic cross, and then I just kind of go every card at a time. But this, I think three tends to be good, unless I want to make these like, I don't know, like half-hour videos or something. All right. And if anybody has any questions about the cards I use, why I use them, that sort of deal, I do have an entire internalized system as to why these cards are what they are, why I do what I do, where these rocks come from. All that stuff is not an accident. It's not all, I mean, everybody's got their hoo-ha. Mine's very meditative on. Oh, first card out. All right, let's go. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Clarifier makes all this much more sensible. So, excuse me. We have the Prince of Spheres for your past, 5 of Spheres for your current. We have the Princess of Spheres as your future. That's interesting. So this is, I think it makes a lot of sense. In reverse, this is, to me, it's like an external, impulsive worry to basically manage financial stuff. It's Pentacles, it's about your wealth, and it's from a youthful energy in reverse. So like, it might have been, there's a version to say like, oh, you were a little bit weird with your money, you might have been a little impulsive. But I think relating to this situation, it's more like, well, you had to do so much frantic thinking about your situation up until now. You kind of had to be like, oh, I'll spend this and that, and well, I don't care, I'm out of money now, and if I don't get this, like, there's a lot of that I think you had to go through. But you got the 5 of Pentacles now, which is really, really good. That's quite literally the inverse of this worry. It's that whole like, well, you know what, financial troubles are starting to break away and kind of move on. So you're not really sure still, because you've been like, oh, I don't know, like this is like weeks and weeks of a process here. I think you're at that point, you're a little unsure, and you're very much in your head now about those same things. Like, you're not outwardly projecting them, which is good, but like, you're still running through these thought patterns and worries, and like, you still have to turn off these programs in your head, basically, and I think the point is you will, and you're working through this as a process. I think that's a lot of this is people like, why am I doing this? Why is it? It's like, well, yeah, this is the step where you're unfolding right now, and that's 100% where we're coming from with the 9 of Swords in reverse. You've been, from this, I feel bad. I've continuously felt bad for the nerves of whoever is resonating with this, because it's like, oh man, you just went through so much, and finally, between the the Sun, the Ace of Cups, the 7 of Swords in reverse, the 9 of Swords in reverse, the 8 of Wands in reverse, you're finally coming to a point where all of the BS is just fading away, and you're almost in shock with how quiet it is for once. it's just not natural for you, you know? But I would settle in this as something you deserve as a normal. I wouldn't be afraid of it. It's like people who come out of trauma struggle to understand that the answer is to do less. They think relaxation is a form of exercise and that they need to be doing something even to even declench their muscles. Their first instinct is to clench harder, you know? It's so hard to just really trust that you can relax for a sense and just, and between these two, Prince of Swords, Prince of Spheres in reverse, that is my number one advice for all of you right now is just be more kind to yourself internally, kind to others, give more of a benefit of the doubt. Like you were dealing with someone who very much taught you to be this way for good reason, but you might just be kind of surprised with what normal people are like now next to you, where it's like, oh, they're not going to do that to me. And I don't have to act that way. I don't have to expect this attack. I can just, I can just exist and I'll be welcome for it. So yeah, that's my advice for everybody watching this right now. Slow down a bit, take some time. Now this is it's a timeless reading, but this is during a Mercury retrograde, and now I'll admit a lot of people, myself included, kind of misunderstood these for a while. I was born in a Mercury retrograde, so this is actually very like there was a Capricorn moon, there was a Mercury retrograde. I was walking into those like, oh no, but then I realized like I have both of those in my chart, and it just felt really, really familiar and almost empowering. And I got like I'm a Leo rising, and it's a Leo season in Mercury retrograde, and it for me it's not about things moving in reverse. It's about fixing the past. It's about going to one final kinked stitch in the sweater and redoing it correctly. And that includes with thematic stuff like technology, the past, whatever. If this is meant for you now, and I'm just gonna say it's timeless, but the energies are what they are. You are finally closing a door. That's what all of this has been about. You've been really, really trying to work to close this door, and now that it is, you're honestly coming to terms with it. And I feel like the next reading's probably going to be something like that. Yeah, I would do everything you can to take care of yourself, and it just is a curious thing. So, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So I asked my own internal questions about this. Is the bottom of the deck, top of the deck, whatever. So and I mean, I pair these. Like I said, I have my own systems with these cards. This is about the past. This is more about the future. That's how this goes for me and why I use these cards, how I use these cards. This is about as good as it gets. You're going from complete and utter crippling anxiety to the highest form of fulfillment internally that you possibly can have. You're good. And I know you probably don't believe that. Give yourself that chance right now to believe in yourself because you deserve it. I think you do. You really deserve it. You don't know how hard you've had it and just what a normal person deserves at this point. Love is not an exchange, it's not something you earn. It's the very baseline, it's the floor beneath your feet. You always deserve it. You always have. Let yourself have that right now.